Welcome to my vlog, or watching me try to build a talking skull, or something. Well, welcome.
Wow! Yeah! Shadow Palm Cemetery, it's a party up in here. Show 'em love. Yeah! Get in on the vibe, just subscribe. Whoa!
Before we get started, this is not my design, as I mentioned several times before. It's off the internet. I'm merely showing you me putting it together, how I'm doing it. So I take no responsibility for if anybody tries this or whatever. You're doing it at your own risk, so don't yell at me. It's not my design. I'm just putting it together. Okay, today I'm going to go over the talking skull, and I'm going to actually make this little thing right here, and I'm going to do it right here in front of the camera so that you can see exactly how I do it. Now, once again, I'm not the person who came up with this, because I really suck at electronics, and you definitely wouldn't want that. I got this from Jim's Haunt page, and I'll give you the web address again. It's home.rica.net/JIMK, and then from there go to projects, and then to the sound servo control. I said before, I was saying that it's a schematic. It's not really, technically it's not a schematic at all. It's actually a happy, friendly, smiley picture with colors and everything. So you probably don't even need me to go through this. You could probably just follow it yourself, but what the heck, I'll go ahead and do it so you can see how bad I am at soldering. But there's the page, and you can see it's just a happy, friendly picture there that's kind of easy to follow. But I'm going to do it anyway, so you can follow along and see what happens. Okay, before I started the vlog today, I did run out to Radio Shack and got I was missing 3 of the components. So I ran out and got those, and I also got a breadboard while I was there so I could mess around with it. And so what I did is, here's the finished one here, and then here is the one I did on the breadboard just because I was playing around with a couple things. And it works, so now I'm going to take it apart and put it onto another board like that. Actually, I've got that. Let's put it onto this guy, and so it's smaller and more permanent. Okay, let me go over the parts list, what you're going to need. Let's take a look here. The first thing is the audio transformer, and that's this little guy here. As you can see, it's not very big. That's if you're getting it from Radio Shack, the Radio Shack part number is 273-1380, and it's on the diagram, so you don't have to worry about writing it down right now. Next thing you're going to need is a transistor. Actually, you're going to need 2 transistors, but 2 different types. This one, the first one, this is an MPS 2907. Now, I could not find the MPS 2907, so I substituted with the PN rather 2907. The specs are similar, a little different, but I didn't think it would make a difference, and it hasn't. It seems to be working fine. So then you're going to need this transistor, that transistor there, and then you're going to need this transistor. This is a TIP, either 31A or the TIP 31. Either one will do. I think this is the TIP 31. Okay, so, and then you're going to need just a regular 100 ohms resistor. These come in a pack of several of them. Let me show you there they are there. Now, it didn't specify, I got the half watt, which is plenty, so that should do you fine. They're really cheap, and it comes in a pack of, I think 5 came in a pack, or 6. Okay, so, and then the last part you're going to need is the diode which is right here. It's a real tiny little guy. Oh, I'm not focusing very well, but there we go. A little tiny little guy, and that's part number, it's 1N914 or 1N4148. And I got the, so that's, and here's the package for it. And that actually comes with several in a package too. It comes like, so you can see, I think there's like, what is there, 10 in a package or something like that. So there's a package of 10, and it was a couple bucks, so they're really cheap. All the parts are really cheap. Oh, another thing you're going to need is a dual printed circuit board, which is this guy right here. I got it dual because it came with two, and they're perforated, and you just break it in half because I wanted small enough to fit inside the skull, and this is the smallest one they had. So actually both of them came together like this, and then you just break it. It's perforated. Okay, and that's it for parts. Of course, you're going to need a power supply. You're probably going to want to use the one that comes with whatever prop you're modifying. Whatever power supply that came with is what you're going to want to use. And obviously the motor, whatever motor came with the prop. Okay, now to get to organizing and building. Okay, now when you're laying this out, if you take a look at the diagram, let me show you the diagram there. If you take a look at the diagram, the most confusing part are the transistors, because each of the transistors has a collector, a base, and an emitter, and keeping those straight can be a little taxing. Now they have it labeled here on the drawing as B, C, and E. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the back of your package, and it'll tell you exactly what lead is what. Now pay specific attention though, because I wound up screwing on this the first time I tried to do it. Make sure which direction it's in. Like for example, this diagram is viewing it from the bottom. So if you don't realize that, you're going to wind up putting it in backwards like I did the first time, and it doesn't work real well. So now it gets kind of confusing because the diagram is a little different from the way it is in real life as far as the layout. So what I did is I drew my own little diagram just for me, and you might want to do the same thing just to get laid out as to what connects to what, so that I didn't, because I kept getting confused and turned around because I tend to get confused easily. So I just drew this out, and it's also sort of the way it lays out on the board. Just made it easier for me. So whatever makes it easier for you, the better. I have it laid out so that this, with the heat sink down, is we've got the emitter, we've got the collector, and we've got the base going from left to right, and which is exactly the way it is on this, with facing this way, which is the way it's going to be facing on the board. So you've got the E, C, and B, emitter, collector, and base. And then this little guy is going to be going on the board facing towards me. See the flat end facing towards me. And so if that's the case, then you've got the emitter on this side, the collector on the far side, and then the base in the middle. So by laying it out like that, it just made it easier, me diagramming out how I'm going to connect everything when it goes to the board. Then what I did is I sort of laid it out on the board the way I'm going to want it, just sort of stuck them through, and then drew with a marker on the top end, not on the printed end, because I didn't want to screw up the connections, but on the top end with a Sharpie, I just drew out where I'm going to make my connections. Now what I used is I used a conductive pen because I suck at soldering, and I didn't want to have to solder a bunch of jumper cables and jumper lines all over the place. So what I did is I flipped this over, and wherever I had the black, I flipped it over and drew with the conductive pen. So as you can see, I've got everything drawn there to make the connections, all the connections I need. So all I need to do is stick in the components and solder them into place and then snip off the excess, which I'll do right now. Okay, now the first part we're going to put on is the diode, and that's the real little tiny guy there. And what I do is I just stick them through, and then I bend the leads. As I stick them through, I bend the leads just to hold it into place so I can solder it then. Then once I solder it, I cut off the excess. Now when you're putting in this the diode, if you look at the diode, one side of it has a little black stripe on it. That's the side of the diode that's going to connect to the green lead on the transformer, on the audio transformer. So yeah, on here, if you take a look, what I did is the part with the black stripe, if you look, what I did with the conductive pen, I should use this as a pointer, it goes one section over with a conductive pen, so I have room to attach the green lead off the transformer, and that's where I'm going to solder that right there. But I'm going to do that at the end. I'm going to do the transformer at the end, so I have all the other parts on. It just makes it a little easier for me. And then this one, this spot here, where the other end comes through for the diode, I went with the conductive pen up two places where it's going to attach to one end of the resistor. Now the resistor can go in either way, left or right, doesn't matter. It works either way. So I just went up two spaces with the conductive pen. If you're using jumpers, you're going to do that and solder it in. I just went up two spaces just to give myself some room, that's all. So that's where that's going to go. So let me show you that. So if you take a look there, now I've popped that in, and so we've got the diode here, then the resistor, and then again on the bottom I just bent those out so that I have plenty of room for soldering them. So before I go on any further, I'm going to go ahead and solder those, and then we'll move on to the transistors. Now actually, before I move on to the transistors, let me throw on my glasses here so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, if we take a look here, with the conductive pen, I've already drawn out where I'm going to connect on this. So it's sort of, if you're looking at this, it's more like this way compared to this, the diagram that I drew out. So here we've connected to the diode, and I apologize if I'm going into way too much detail. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible, and I'm probably making it more confusing and trying to do that, and I apologize. But so the diode is the first piece I put in, and that is that piece right there. And then from there I go up two spaces to the resistor, and that's, you see here, I go up two spaces to the resistor. So we're looking at here now, this of course is upside down compared to it. This would be if you're facing the diagram here. So you've got the diode, the resistor, and then here you've got the diode, the resistor, and then here you've got the connection, where on the bottom here I did it with a conductive pen, the connection there. And then here, where you see here, I'm connecting to the B, or the base terminal, on the transistor. So that's the one, for me, that's the one on the center. Okay, so if you take a look here at the end where the resistor ends, I go up two notches to what's going to be the center of the transistor, or the the base, which is the center of the transistor, the center lead for the transistor. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solder those, and then I'll go over that again when I get to put in the transistor. One other note while I'm waiting for my my soldering gun to heat up. If you are using a conductive pen, once you draw the spots on there, you can use your multimeter to check and make sure that there's zero resistance so that the conductive pen worked properly. So you would just touch, one lead to one end, one lead to the other end, and then it should be showing up as 0 in the multimeter when you do that. I'm not going to do that now because I don't have 3 hands, which I need desperately to do this. But just, before you start soldering things on, you might want to check once the conductive pen ink has dried a little bit. Just check and make sure that you've got nice connections there so that you don't have any broken lines, because it's going to be harder once you do the soldering to get in there in those little nooks and crannies and get that. Just a quick note. Okay, now I got those parts soldered, and I'm just going to snip them off, and then we're going to go ahead and put in the first transistor. Another extra little note: when I'm soldering, I usually take a toothpick and get a little bit of flux and put some flux on it, and then put it on the components that I'm going to be soldering, where I'm going to be soldering. I know a lot of the solder has flux built into it, but I find if you put a little extra flux on there, it makes it a little easier, and especially when you're as bad at soldering as I am, every little bit helps. Okay, now I put in the first transistor, and be very careful to make sure that you have the ends exactly where you want them. I've got them just where I want them, and what I did is I bent the 2 outside ones out of the way and then the center one back out of the way in the opposite direction, just because of the way I have where I have my lines from the pen. I don't want my solder to be running across any of those and causing a short anywhere. Okay, I've got the first transistor soldered in. Now I'm going to put the second transistor in, and I put it in and then I bent it down so it's lying flat against the board, just so it's not sticking up, otherwise it would be sticking way up like this. So when I stuck it in, I bent it back down towards the board, and then I'm going to solder it into place. Now I've got the heat sink down against the board. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. That I just don't know. I don't think so, because it looks like it's meant so it could be screwed in there, but like I said, I don't know that much about electronics, so if anybody knows if that's a bad thing, just leave it in the comments so that nobody else does it. I haven't had a problem with it, but just letting you know that I'm not sure about that. But okay, now I'm going to go ahead and solder this guy into place, and then we'll be almost done. Okay, now I just need to put the transformer into place and connect that, which is just going to be the green and the blue wires. The green wire is going to connect to the diode, and the blue wire is going to connect to the transistor. So I'm going to go ahead and make those connections now on the board here. You can see it's starting to take shape. And once I do those 2 connections, then the only thing left are putting the soldering the leads on to go. One will go to the positive on the battery, and the other to the positive terminal on the motor, and then the negative terminal on the power supply will go directly to the negative terminal on the motor. Okay, so let me go ahead and solder those into place. Okay, all done. I soldered the leads onto here. Now these 2 leads, like I said before, the one will go to this one will go to the positive on the motor. That's this one. And this one will go to the positive on the power supply. Then the red and white wires from the audio transformer, I just attach those to an 1/8 inch jack, because that's the type of connection I'm going to be using from the sound source. But you can leave those, you can just attach them if you're going to have just wires, or you can do whatever you want there, but that attaches to the speaker leads. So however you're going to do that, if you're going to do 1/8 inch jack or if you're just going to attach them directly to speaker leads, however you're going to handle that. So that's it. Oh, the black wire off the transformer doesn't attach to anything, so you can just tape that off. It doesn't attach to anything. I believe that's what it looks like in the, if you take a look at the plans here, it just has it going to an X, and the first one I didn't connect it to anything, and it worked fine. So I believe that's the case with that. Again, one mention of, just for safety's sake, this is strictly for entertainment purposes. I take no responsibility for anybody trying this on their own, because I'm just something I did, and I'm very careful to, unplug the power supply when I'm not using it. And like I said, I don't know much about electronics. I'm just using the diagram I got off the internet. So again, this is just for entertainment, and I take no responsibility. So do it at your own risk if you choose to do so. Now, I tried to explain it the best I could, but I realized it's kind of difficult to explain. I think you'll get more from the diagram. But if you have any questions at all, please post them, or any comments, please post them. Let me know what you think, and let me know how it works out for you. And like I said, if you have any questions at all, post them, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I think that's it. It's getting kind of late, and I still need to get this together and upload it. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it works out for you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Later, dude. Thanks for watching.